Hello, it's Paul Valencia and Cale Piland and Tony Liberatore. We are the Clark County Today Sports Podcast, and I swear we got to come up with a better name than that for at least September. But hey, it's on ClarkCountyToday.com, and it's a sports podcast. So
well, people email you, Paul. Maybe they have people. Maybe some of our or one of our 5 listeners would have an idea.
Yeah.
Hey, we're up to 10. Come on.
Try that. We get a few listeners, but hey, it's been a long break. This is a sports podcast with me, longtime reporter in Clark County, and now at Clark County Today for the last 6 years. And then Tony's an associate principal at Fort Vancouver and a former coach and a former AD. Cale's a former head coach in football and a former AD. So we got experts here and me. So that's how we do it. And so I got to say, sorry for a long break in the summer. We've had some odd schedules with vacations, and then yours truly, I'm 52 going on 85, it seems like. I've had more, I'm not going to get, right now I'm still alive, I'm still breathing, I'm not dying. There's nothing like that. I don't want to scare anybody, but yeah, it's no fun to get old. I'm trying though. I'm trying to do things better. No red meat except for when I'm in Las Vegas. So no burgers except for when I'm in Vegas, and I've been doing that since July 5th, because July 4th I ate a bunch of cheeseburgers.
Starts after the barbecue.
But yeah, I'm just
for America. You had to.
I'm just trying. Exactly. I'm trying to eat better, and I know I'll be in Vegas a bunch, obviously in football season for my Raiders. But I still, no red meat when I'm in Vancouver for a while is the plan. So I am trying, and there's some other things that have been going on. And again, I'm not going to go into details. I just told these guys before we press record, and trust me, you don't want to know.
We didn't want to know either, but that's okay. That's where we're at today.
Yeah, kidney stones are no fun. How's that? So, but we're back, and we're recording this on Friday. What is this? The 11th?
August 11th.
Yep. And we're going to post this on Monday, which will be 2 days before the start of high school football season. So we're going to talk about what that day is like for coaches and for journalists. And then also, since our last podcast, we've had a coach, a very successful coach, resign. Horrible timing. He understands it's bad timing, but he had to do what he had to do. And so we're going to talk about Rory Rosenbach from Union. And then at the end of this podcast, we might even add a 6-minute or so interview I had with him when he resigned back in July. But before we get that, and then there's one other thing. Cale might be talking to us about playoff stuff.
Playoff stuff, yes.
Playoff stuff,
that's a good way
because
to put it.
Because I don't want to say the other word, whatever. Because it's been driving us nuts for years how the Clark, Greater St. Helens League's formats with playoffs and stuff. It's weird, but you're going to explain what's going on for this season as we prepare for football. But first, let's just we'll dive into on Wednesday. It's the first day of practice. It's always a very special time of the year. No one's lost a game yet. Everyone's optimistic. Cale, we'll start with you as a head coach. What was it like for you to prepare for the opening day, and then what was opening day like for practice?
Well, really, by this point in time, all the heavy lifting is done. You've gone through all your preseason stuff, and by preseason I mean June and July, where you've been working with kids, and you have a pretty decent idea of how things are going to slot in for you. It just you kind of brace yourself, because for the next week and a half for football, you're going to be exhausted. I mean, it's just they're long days when you look at that, and it's fun, and it's really fun because you spend a lot of time. I mean, ideally, you get along with your coaching staff, and then you get to spend a quality time with those guys, and you spend a lot of time with the kids. So you're really able to develop and look at what you're going to do as a team. But the heavy lifting for a lot of it is done prior to we get here, and now you're getting ready to play week 1 is what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tony, you were an assistant for how many years?
16
years,
yeah.
Assistant coach.
16.
And the different, with you have to go with the head coach's schedule. Head coach,
right?
I know, for example, like years ago, Camas would practice at night, like 5 to 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. And other teams go in the morning or whatever. But it's up to the head coach. So you're on. Yeah,
and we had different variations. I coached under at River with John O'Rourke, and we did different variations of those schedules, just depending on especially once we had more assistant coaches that weren't teachers. So if they were working 9 to 5 essentially, but like those first, I'm going to say definitely the first 3 days. And then the first probably week, even it's the assistant coaches and how we did it. Like maybe I'm in charge of helmets, right? So we got to go and come up with the helmet schedule, who's getting it when and how. And, there was a lot of liability in the last few years around helmets. So we had to film kids getting fitted with the helmet. So just logistics like that, other equipment. The third day is when you can hit. So, at the end of that third practice, we would just make sure all the kids have everything ready to go for that fourth day. Just so logistic stuff, assistant coach stuff.
Which of course they don't. No matter what you do, there's going to be the kid running out to practice.
I don't.
The first day
right.
pads going. I don't have a butt pad. I mean, something
always
along those lines.
And
right?
you just and I learned, we as a staff, or we would just designate somebody to be, Tony, stay in the locker room a little bit longer. You'll be the guy that, will just take care of it. And for all those years, I also had the freshmen. So I would we would mimic what the varsity. We would use their template. The install for offense and defense would be a little bit different, but we would kind of mimic their template of how we would do that. So
my life is for opening days. Has been completely. It's just different now at Clark County today. I don't go to as many practices as I used to. Sometimes I try to get to 5 or 6 practices on that opening day. I'll go to a couple on Wednesday, absolutely, and I'll write up a little something. Probably going to go to some of the new head coaches this year for the first week, and then the second week of practice, I'll find some others. But I don't go the daily grind like I used to, so it's a little bit different. But I'm telling you, as a journalist, we could often predict order of finish, or maybe not order of finish sometimes, but just on the organizational skills of the head coach and the team. And of course there's a centuries difference between, no offense, but say a Fort Vancouver from a few years ago versus a Camas. So if I went to Camas and then Fort Vancouver on the same day, it was like, am I even going to the same sport? And I don't even mean to rip on Fort Vancouver on that.
I get what you're saying.
Different world. Yes. The Camas kids have been practicing spring ball, summer ball, whatever, and they've been part of this program for 4 or 5 years, even before they got to high school. They're in this program, so they know more what to expect. And so the first 2 days at Fort Vancouver is a lot of teaching again.
Absolutely.
But what Cale was saying at Evergreen, or even at Union, you weren't teaching. It was your veteran players taught the younger players. Ideally, right?
Yeah, as far as the structure and how practice went, where they needed to be and when they needed to be there, and how we start and what we're getting into. Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean that has a tendency to be able to perpetuate itself once your program has established itself. And I'd say the other thing that I had the benefit of is, I mean, yes, there were changes in my staff over the course of my career, but for the most part, I mean, there was a core group of coaches that I had for the whole time at Evergreen, and then most of them came with me to Union. So it was, I don't want to say we were like old married couples, but I mean, we knew what the other one was going to do and when they were going to do it, and they all knew what the expectations were, and their expectations were my expectations and vice versa. So that allowed me to coach as long as I did, because I didn't have to teach a staff every single year what I expected.
And when you have that and a high level of trust, it is it's so nice.
Yep.
And we had a few of those staffs like that. That was good.
But also as a professional observationalist, I can't say that word too well.
Well, you can say whatever you want to, Paul. You're a journalist,
yes,
right?
So I'll just pretend it's a word.
Yes.
But no matter how great the organization is, I can't tell you how many times I was at a John Eagle first day or second day of practice for Camas, and won a state title, and he's still at practice, and he's Mr. Camas, and you still have freshmen and sophomores coming up and coach, and just asking these questions that should have been answered weeks ago.
Well, they were answered weeks ago. They didn't listen or pay attention to it.
It's the new kid. There's always that. And,
But sometimes the community gets so big, like, oh, that's Coach Eagle. He's probably got 3 or 4 people to handle those questions for those young people that he doesn't even know. The young people don't understand, especially the ones that aren't football savvy yet. They don't. They just see head coach. That's the guy to go talk to. They don't have a position coach yet, so they just go to the head coach. So I'll be interviewing John and get interrupted 3 or 4 times by somebody with the. Hey,
Can I get a mouth guard?
Hey, coach, what time's practice tomorrow? He just said it 6 times in an hour, and it's on the board right behind us. But hey, what time's practice tomorrow?
And that calendar went out probably in March of when practice tomorrow was going to be. Was on there.
So to all head coaches out there who might be listening to this on Monday, I feel you. I laugh, but I feel you.
So, well, here's another piece, Paul, as we start Wednesday. It's supposed to be 103 degrees.
Yeah.
Right. And so, again, just being, especially in the AD world where we had to, listen, coach, I know you want to go, you're going from noon to 5, but now you can't.
Yeah.
So all those last second changes because it's supposed to be 100 plus for.
There is some sort
Sunday
of heat index or whatever that you guys have to follow.
Yep. And it's pretty clear, and the WIA has set that up very nicely for us, so that it's a link off of their page, and you just go in and put in your zip code, and it tells you exactly what the heat index is at that zip code, and then there are different levels, and it tells you what you can and cannot do at that very moment where you're at.
Yeah, and I'm glad, and it's got to be written down somewhere. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, it's only going to be for a few more minutes."
No.
If there's a time to stop, you got to stop.
Well,
right?
and how many water breaks per? Everything is, and if you don't follow it because that's posted, then
that school gets in trouble. The team gets in trouble.
Well, it would be a self-report, and you would go down that route. But really, what you're doing is putting yourself in
that's the liability
litigation limbo there. If something does happen. You didn't follow the guidelines, and
maybe helmets off, just that type of stuff too.
Of course, we got a handful of new head coaches this year. We got Seton Catholic, Kingsway Christian, Mountain View, Heritage, Columbia River,
Union,
and then we're going to get to Union. Now, at Clark County Today, I've written on everybody except for the new Union coach, Coach Code, because it happened so late, and then I've decided, I've got too many weird stuff going on in my life, but I am going to reach out to the coach and hopefully get out to his practice Wednesday or Thursday. Sure. But Cale, you know him very well. You coached.
I was going to say.
So tell me a little bit about the new coach at Union before we talk about the old one.
If Kevin can overcome his experience from his high school coach, he'll be just fine. Kevin's great. I had a chance to coach both him and his younger brother. And just model, as far as players, they're the model of what you want as a head coach, because they both were very talented and they both worked extremely hard. Right. And so that makes your job as a head coach much easier because they will set the bar for you. But Kevin, he was a defensive coordinator at Union on the state championship team. Hard work is not something he's afraid of. Right. And he's always just been a natural leader. So
great.
With, again, the timing of Ro taking the new job, having him to be able to step in and stabilize things for a year. It'll be a challenge because he's never been a head coach before. And I tell folks all the time, and I've probably said it on this podcast before, so much about being a head coach has nothing to do with coaching. There's so many other things you have to do. So there will be a learning curve for him there, but I have all the confidence in the world in Kevin.
Got it. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to do the timeline. Kevin was not on the state championship team for Evergreen. Did he graduate the year before?
He graduated the year before.
So which was the semifinal team.
Yes.
So, but he's one of those guys, though, that kind of set the foundation for you because you were an assistant at Evergreen, left for a year or two.
One year.
Came back to become the head coach. I think your first year wasn't very successful.
Oh, we won 5 games.
We
didn't have a losing season. Put it that way.
I don't even think I was at your week 9 game against Mountain View, though, if I recall, because it was just pointless to be there. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, Paul, keeping it real.
We had no playoff. The playoffs weren't in the picture for us that year.
But then the next year, you demanded that I would be there. But Kevin was part of that team that kind of grew it, that made it possible. You got to the Final Four, and then the next year was the perfect season.
Yeah, there was 1 year in between there too.
Oh, there was.
There was a. The year that Brig Walker was a senior in that class. That was the year that we beat Mountain View on that. It was raining sideways on Thursday, and we beat
Right.
them on the last play with him. But so that was the first of our 4 consecutive league championships.
Right. See, I was going to get to that. I
Thanks,
wasn't
Paul.
gonna just talk
You're
about
ripping on my first year. Let's talk about the.
Right. So, but anyway, that's cool that keeping it in the Evergreen School District family, because there was no union back then.
No.
So that's really cool. So, but Kevin gets the job because Rory left at how do you describe the timing?
I think my quote is that the timing was less than ideal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he, again, we're going to try. I interviewed him for my story, which posted on Clark County Today a few weeks ago. And then I interviewed him for this podcast that I'm going to have to do technical stuff and hope to add that interview to the end of this podcast. So Rory talks a little bit of why he left, but also he was just really open with me in the whole hour. We had like an hour long interview. The interview for the podcast is like 5 or 6 minutes. So I promise you don't have to listen to an hour of Rory talking about stuff. But we talked for about an hour in his house, and it's just, I mean, he's just such a classy guy, and the area is gonna miss him because he's just a larger than life kind of coach and a good guy who gets it. And I got to tell you guys a story. One of the things that he told me that, of course, he's known for winning a state championship in 2018. But one of his biggest accomplishments down here is he said he became friends with Adam Matheson because Adam, you remember, Adam was the coach at Mountain View. Union and Mountain View had a rivalry. There's stories out there. Some are facts, some are myth, but you know the stories.
Yes.
That the Union takes Mountain View athletes and Rory wasn't part of that. Rory just came down here, but then his second year, a great athlete from Mountain View goes to Union, and so Adam's like, "Oh, great! It's one of those guys." No, they became best friends.
Yep.
And I just think that was really cool that he said something like that. It had nothing to do with football. It was just talking about the relationships he built here. He came down here to be closer to his daughter, and unfortunately, she died when she was 18 in a car crash right after the state championship, a couple months after that, and. So, but he's going back home. He's going to be right next to, where he grew up, literally. I mean, the home that he grew, his parents still live there. And I just think it's a really cool coming home story, if not rough timing, because he's leaving in the middle of summer.
Oh yeah, but I don't besmirch him at all for going. Opportunities present themselves when opportunities present themselves. And this wasn't so much, in fact, I don't think in any way it was a motivation on his part to get away from what he was doing. It was more of a pulling to get back home, and I'm sure he covers it in the interview with the family dynamics that have changed for them recently. It just being close to family will be very beneficial to them.
And you guys, as former coaches, you'll love this too. So I was over there, and he and his wife have adopted two young girls. And it's funny because as a football coach, you guys are always in charge. You say something and you expect people to follow. Well, I can tell you from being at that house for an hour, those two girls are in charge of Rory.
That's how it usually goes anyway.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
It's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to miss him, but it was also just what a great small window of coaching he had here. Gosh,
Yeah, he made a very positive impact on Clark County sports in general, but specifically football.
Yep.
For sure.
Awesome. So, but yeah, any advice to all the new head coaches going into Wednesday?
Oh man.
Cale?
Don't. Well, one would be if you're a brand new head, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's a lot of resources that are out there, people that are willing to lend an ear, and you're going to make mistakes. It's just a matter of learning from those. And I will say this: the second year is so much easier than the first year. It's not even close.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember of the 6 new head coaches, how many are first year head coaches? I think there's 2 at least, right? Coach Patterson at River, and wasn't Seaton's? No, Seaton's isn't.
Kingsway is
First.
Dale Rule, right? Yeah.
So that's a little bit different than if you're. I mean,
Yes.
it's always going to a new school to be head coach,
Right.
But
Yeah.
especially if you're new to the, and so I would say similar to what Cale is, make sure if they're on your staff or not, you got to have a sounding board.
Right.
You just got to be able to just a mentor essentially. You got to have that.
Yeah, I think it's 4. Is it 4 new head coaches? I think
First year.
That's accurate.
First year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Okay.
have 2.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, that's good. Going to be interesting on that. But and that might be a subject for a future podcast. It's just
Well, let's see.
the turnover rate is just
Yeah.
it's crazy, but it's like that in all sports now.
Yep.
And it's you've heard me talking about sportsmanship and all that stuff and burnout and all that. But
Yep.
yeah, that's what's going on a lot.
We'll see in our November episode where everybody's at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So what else were we? Oh, we wanted to talk a little bit of the playoff structure. Is that right? Or the glue?
Yeah. So it's not so much the playoff structure. So there is a it's a WIA rule. It's in the handbook, and it's called the glue rule. And essentially, what the glue rule says is that if you are a district, so a WIA district, okay, who only drives one allocation. So you have to have enough schools to drive an allocation plus one more school. So and that's the case for our 4As and 3As, right? With a 4-team league and a 5-team league, they both drive one allocation plus one. So we have the ability to apply to say we're willing to put our one allocation up to have a chance for our second place team to enter into the postseason. So we could lose our allocation, but we could also potentially take another allocation. And so that the actual language doesn't get applied very often, because most times what happens is because where that glue takes place is in the district that's geographically the most close to you. So what typically happens is those two districts, they'll work something out between them to figure out how they're going to divvy up those allocations. This is for all sports except for wrestling and football, really. And so
for years, I just want to go an example. For years in basketball, it's District 3 and District 4.
Yep.
And that would be that huge by-district basketball tournament.
Correct.
But I know there was one year we did District 2 and District 4 for basketball when District 3 didn't want us, or something like that.
When that happened, it was we found a better working agreement with District 2
right.
than we were going to be able to work with District 3, and so that was the direction we went. And so this has become kind of this is just one example of where it's used throughout the state. I mean, it's used all classifications all across the state, depending on where you're at, what your allocation situation is. So the WA has formed a committee, which I happen to be a part of, because we have a lot of experience with needing to glue, where we're looking at what that language is and is it correct and what it should be. So. Just some information there for our listeners as to how that comes to be, and one can make the argument then that some of the smaller districts do wield a little bit of power because they can ask for this, and then if the two districts can't come, which we've been able to come to an agreement with District 3 historically to make that work, but let's say we didn't, then we would file paperwork with the WIA, and the WIA would come back and say, okay, this is what's happening. Right. And that's happened somewhere, some areas around the state. And that just, when that happens, it's unfortunate because it causes a lot of hard feelings. And, I mean, there's pros and cons to it, right? There are some schools here in District 4 that aren't necessarily maybe huge fans of it because it does create a lot of travel for us. Right. I mean, you're in that basketball tournament, you're making quite a few trips,
3 nights and 3 games in 7 days, that type of stuff.
Up and down. And my response to that is, yes, that is a bit of a hardship, but is it more of a hardship than it would be to tell our second place team that you get, hey, great season, you get no chance.
And that's what I want to tell that to our listeners, is that if you don't go glue with somebody, then it's just the league champion going to the
you go directly to state.
You go directly to state,
but then your number 2 doesn't get a chance. So, and my philosophy within why I think the glue is a positive is, so allocations are based off, playoff allocations are based off of sizes of leagues. So how many schools? It's a math problem where it figures out. So the leagues that are bigger get more allocations, and I do understand that. But just because a league is smaller doesn't mean that that small league's number 2 team isn't as good or better than the number 2 team or number 3 team from a larger league. And so you get into this philosophical debate when it comes to WIA playoffs do we want equal mathematical representation based on size of population, or do we want the 16 best teams?
Right.
And I've always been that's why, like, when we put there are some sports, we put our number 1 up at risk and we don't send anybody to state.
Yep. Happens every year.
And my rationale to, folks that get upset about that is like, look, if our 1 wasn't as good as another league's 7 or 6, they don't belong in the state tournament. They had a great season, but there's no reason that they should get to go to the state tournament and get waxed when there are teams that are clearly better than them.
And in football, and I know that we're talking about mostly all the sports besides football, but in football, there's been many times when we'll get 3 of our 4 teams to week 10s, and then they win.
Yes.
So we have 3 teams make it to state when under allocations we'd only get 1.
Correct.
So,
well, in recent history, our 4A league has been able to hold their own, and that's in pretty much all sports.
Right.
Yeah, so that is and really our 3A league as well. But yeah, within the 4A league, depending on the sport, we may have 2 or 3 of the top 8 teams in the state down here, and it would just be a crime to not have. Now, before that language put in place, when I was still here as an assistant at Evergreen, it was right about the time the language went in place, and there was a year in boys basketball, Evergreen, that was kind of Evergreen's heyday run. They were still in the John Triplett years and not long after a state tournament and extremely talented. Well, Butch Ballou was at Battleground, and Battleground was – so you were probably talking 2 of the top 4 teams in the state, and we had 1 allocation.
Yep.
And it was before there was no glue language. So we got our 1 allocation to state, and Evergreen took it. But a very, very, very good basketball team from Battleground, boys basketball team from Battleground, stayed at home, didn't even get a chance.
And nowadays, I'd say softball's a great example. We have great softball teams in the 4A GXHL, and Battleground and Skyview, I think, have gone to state, recently in the last couple of years. But but one of them will be sitting home without glue.
And I think so. But even if we look at the 3A girls basketball last year, I don't think we advanced anybody to the state tournament.
No,
through that. So that happens sometimes. But again, look, you had a great season within your league, but you didn't belong in the state tournament. I mean, that should be the 16 best teams, or in the 3A case, the 20 best teams in the state, right?
Right, yes. Yeah.
So what rightfully so, the Pac-12 down to the Pac-9, and then pretty much going to dissolve. That's received a lot of press and hundreds of millions of dollars, but there is no drama like high school conference or league realignment.
No.
None.
I got to tell you, Chip Kelly was quoted about. And he's taken my idea, although I've never really put it out there publicly. But
it's the Notre Dame model.
No, but his model is let's just football. Let football be football.
Yep.
But Pac-12 can be basketball, can be everything else.
Yeah.
Because football is so different. We only travel once a week. We only play. I've been saying that for high school football in Washington for years. Why is Camas, Battleground, Skyview, and Union in one 4-team league when they can go? If they want to, they can go glue with 3 or 4 teams from Tri-Cities and make it one league. We're already traveling to Idaho for non-league games or Seattle for non-league games. Or Oregon, or heck, Union a few years ago went to California for a football game.
Yep.
And we're doing this because we can't, and I say we, I'm talking about geography, we can't find good opponents for non-league games around here. So if we're already traveling this far anyway for non-league, why don't we glue a league together with another 3 or 4 team league?
In theory, yes. In practice, the way that the WIA's governance works right now, we can't do that. Right. So we can only be in a league in District 4. Yeah. And there are only 4 of our teams.
But again, I say it only for football because every other sport you play each other usually twice a year. So you don't want to do home and home with the Tri-Cities. But once a week for football?
What we could do, and they don't let you do it per sport. What you can do is you can petition to be a District 4 school, but you're going to participate in District 3.
Right.
So you can, and that it doesn't make a lot of sense for us because of the geography, but you've seen that happen for schools that are on the District 3, District 4 border where there's a league. So
Capital almost came down here for
they almost petitioned to come down here.
The Olympia area teams do that a lot.
Shelton is a District 4 school, but they have at times participated in District 3. Same with Tumwater. So that has happened.
Yeah.
So I think I thought you were going to say this, Cale. And obviously you can't see a WIA district map, but the only 4A schools in WIA District 4 are in Clark County.
Correct.
Yes. That's it.
Yes.
And it's a huge geographic area.
It is.
And so that's what people like. Why can't you just? But that's it.
Well, even when we were a bigger league,
Right.
that's what we were. And we got the district tournament. Well, it's really a league tournament,
Right.
because there isn't another league in District 4 for us to go into a District 4 tournament with.
Right. But back in the 2000, sometimes you'd have 7 or 8 teams in that league. So then you could have it. It was much better. It was fun when that happened. But as far as this coming up school year, have you guys determined the glue structure yet?
Yeah. It's just it's going to be a mirror image of what we did last year. So
Okay.
when you enter into these agreements, they're typically 2-year agreements, and so last year was year 1. This is year 2, and then we'll go through classification again this year, and then we'll have to revisit that. Now, that could change if what comes out of this committee changes what the glue language is as to what I guess different size districts, whatever their negotiating power is, and within that.
And I know, again, the glue is for most of the not football, and you said not wrestling, but for football this year, do we already know the allocations for how many are making it to week 10 from the 4A GSHL? Do we know that yet?
I believe I haven't gotten the finalized agreement because that's a different agreement, right?
Because that's like 3 or 4 districts, right?
Yes, and the 3As is actually the entire state.
Yes.
So what I believe is going to happen this year is we would see 2 4A schools and 3 3A schools, because we only had 2 3A schools last year.
Okay.
And those just flip flop like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
Gotcha. So, hey, at least, but again, until Battleground starts getting a little bit better, it's always been, quote, the big 3 in the 4A JSHL for football. Battleground, I think I've heard, is improving.
Don't sleep on Woody. Yeah, they're
no.
I was going to say
I'm just.
If anybody can get that program going, Mike can do it.
Absolutely, and I know I saw
tell kids to find grass.
Their weight, their weight training is going great. So
Well, you put a little money in your weight room. It's amazing how kids want to participate.
Yeah,
right?
So pretty happy for that. But my point is that for years it's been these 3 teams battling for which position, and sometimes it's been 2, but sometimes it's been 3, and it's just you're battling for position. But now you got Battleground who wants to get into that top 3, top 2 moment. So, but we'll see. Yeah, and then Wednesday we get all the dreams with all the football season starting. But all right, so we can walk away from high school football for just a second now. We can talk about, I think your baseball team hasn't lost in about a year. I don't know, in about a month. No,
I'm happy. It does feel like a year.
Yeah, it's been enjoyable.
The Mariners
last
can't
few weeks.
lose.
12 of 14, something like that. Yeah, it's awesome.
Now,
10 games above 500.
Yeah. So I mean, the last time we were podcasting, I think
They were just
you guys were.
We were.
They went in the All-Star break just.
I wish you guys could see my text messages when the Mariners are having a rough week. My text messages are just wow, it's like taps.
Yeah.
And, as a Raider fan, I get it, but I maybe because I'm a Raider fan and I love
Paul loves to troll the Mariners.
I love misery loves company, so I have a little fun with it. But for right now. But I've been telling you all year, buy your playoff tickets, haven't I?
You have.
There's been no sense of facetiousness in that comment at all, Paul. No, I took you dead serious.
Yeah. So,
hey, just a couple of things real quick.
Yeah.
We were talking about head coaches, and I think I texted this to you guys a couple of weeks ago, but with Adam going to Camas, and then on Twitter the other night, did you see his post where he folded all of his Mountain View gear?
Yes.
And I was just like, dang, dude. I mean, that's a weird move too,
and
as far as Clark County sports.
And someone sent him a picture of red pants, because you remember Adam wore the bright green.
That's
pants
true.
For Mountain View.
That's funny.
So is he going to wear the red pants? Now,
Roe had bright red pants. So when they played each other, Adam would wear his bright green and Roe would wear his bright red. I don't think that Adam could fit. I don't think Roe's pants would fit Adam though.
But also, and we should make it clear, in case you haven't heard. But Adam is an assistant coach at Canvas. He is not the head coach at Canvas. And that was just another domino of the bizarre Evergreen Schools athletic department chaos. Is chaos too strong of a word? It was weird. Cale, I know you can't talk much about
Paul, you can call it whatever you'd like.
It was a strange school end of the school year for sure. But but Christian, let's go through them all. Yeah, Christian Swain is still the head coach at Evergreen, and he has a job at Evergreen High School, I believe. So that's awesome. So that's great for him. And, and that was the other thing. I saw Scorebook Live. Washington posted their predictions for league champions, and they predicted Evergreen to win the 3A GSHL, and there's talent-wise, there's no reason why they can't be in that running. They've got some got some dudes.
I was going to say they do.
No, Christian has done a great job with that program. There's no question about it.
And there's a question mark with Mountain View because of a new coach that no one around here really knows. Sure. That's not a rip on Coach Hart. It's just he's not from here, so no one knows him. So
no, and he. I have all the confidence in Aaron as well. I mean, I think that it's just new face, new place, right?
Right. Now, I'm not going to name names because I didn't ask him if I could name names, but I talked to someone who's associated with Heritage Football who is loving the off-season program that Coach Peterson put together, and that there's even optimism at Heritage. And the way I just said that makes it sound bad. There's even optimism at Heritage, but it's been a rough couple of years at Heritage.
No question. And there's a lot of work to be done there.
Yes.
And Kevin is not going to be a miracle worker and get it done in 1 year, but he absolutely has provided stability and structure to that program. And his background is in strength and conditioning. So, I mean, that's the lifeblood of any high school football program.
Pretty much. Didn't he build the weight room there? He didn't build it, you know what I mean? But he was part of the I want this. And
when we were putting that facility in Mountain View's new facility, I had the chance to work closely with Kevin in that project. And it's if you're in the Heritage community and you haven't been out to see that facility, it's state of the art. It's awesome, man. It's something that those kids in that community definitely need to be taking pride in because it's state of the art.
Good deal. Let's see. As far as my Raiders, I went to training camp. In between my medical stuff, I went to training camp because remember, I could be pass out, but if there's a plane ticket to Vegas for anything Raider related, I'm still going to try to make that flight.
Make it work.
So I went to, you guys will like this. So I went to training camp a few times when they were still the Oakland Raiders and they were in Napa, California. And I might have told you guys, it was at a middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you did.
And the first year we went, we were driving and we're just, Google Maps or whatever, and we're in this residential area. You turn around, there's this parking lot for the middle school. And the schools in California are all breezeways. So they're just little buildings here connected by breezeways because they don't have to worry about winter or rain. So you can't see the field. You're just parked, and there's other Raider fans, and you're walking around these buildings, and then, these two beautiful, immaculate NFL football fields in the backyard of this middle school. And so it was fun to go to, and that middle school must have loved it because
they
got all this money.
2 football fields.
Yeah.
But the training center outside of Vegas and Henderson, it's the Raiders have all grown up. I don't know if it's going to mean any wins this year, any more wins than last year, but oh my gosh, that training facility was incredible. It was so
cool.
A lot better than the middle school.
Garoppolo's only thrown 12 interceptions.
Something like that.
That's the only tweets I see for some reason from the Raiders reporter.
Yeah, he's throwing
three touchdowns today, but 3 interceptions.
But today, I guess the defense. We're recording this on Friday. The Raider defense against the Niners picked off the Niner quarterback 6 times, and that's
Perfect.
like 5 more interceptions than we usually get in 3 months.
Which Niner quarterback?
I was just going to say which one.
It was Purdy, but Purdy's injured. Who knows? They're all injured. Who knows?
Yeah.
Do they even have any quarterbacks? I don't know.
They got Andy Dalton, don't they?
I don't know.
I think they do.
Is he there?
I think he's in.
I think he's in
camp. Yeah.
So.
No, not Andy Dalton. I mean, who am I thinking? The Jet.
I just can't.
Panther.
I'm totally drawing a blank on.
Me too. That's weird. It's not Dalton.
No. It's a D. This is embarrassing. Was number one or number two?
Oh, the SC kid.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm drawing
Was one of the Jets, and then played for the Panthers last year.
D starts with the D. Yep.
Yeah, I know who it is. I could see because he was a meme for a while too.
Anyway, we are.
So
we're idiots.
while Cale looks for that, I was at Prairie earlier this week.
Yeah, you're at Prairie.
Yeah, we did. We had the county safety summit, so that's
Okay.
administrators and district safety stuff. But
Sam Darnold.
there it is, Darnold.
There it is, Sam
but
Darnold.
at Prairie,
With a D.
does Prairie have the most successful pro athletes in the county?
That's a good one.
Because I started it because they have like a bunch of jerseys in the hallway leading to the gym.
Right.
So Dick Al,
Yep.
Dick out.
okay, who was an All-American also at the Zags,
Yep.
okay, played for the Blazers.
Yep.
You go Sexton,
Richie Sexton
who's an All-Star.
Alan
Also,
Embry.
and then Embry, who,
won a world. Did he win a World Series?
yeah, and I can't remember if it was the Giants or the Red Sox, but one of them or maybe two. And because then I started thinking, okay, which school do I know the best is River? I can only think of 2 River grads that have had time in the pros. And one is Stan Spencer. But when he was a freshman at Stanford, he won the clinching championship game.
Right.
And then Pierce did get time in the NFL. Kirkland, I don't know if he ever made an active roster in the NFL. I can't remember. But, I mean, Randy Myers at Evergreen.
Randy Myers at Evergreen.
Ford had Steve Dills and Brian Hunter.
Yeah.
Mountain View.
Mountain View has the
Alcorn.
Alcorn
And Ruse.
And Ruse. Rob Ramsey.
There you
pitched in
go.
the major leagues.
But also
Cameron Jones.
the other kicker for the Bills.
Ryan Lindell.
Lindell.
So
That's
Mountain
right. I
View
worked with his dad.
Mountain View has a lot.
Maybe
too.
Mountain View. Okay.
View.
Cameron
might-
Jones was an Olympic sprinter.
That's a great.
Well, and then Prairie also has Jordan Childs,
Yeah.
Yep.
current Olympian. So, anyways, I just started thinking about like Clark County.
Boy.
If we did a Clark County High School Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that'd be pretty good.
Yep.
And then just one last bit of trivia here.
Okay.
And just one more Mountain View.
go ahead.
Angelina Wolvert. Who's now Yelverton. She's a administrator in our district, but she played in the WNBA.
That's right.
That's right.
So, going back to high school sports, on Wednesday night, Michael Lorenzen of the Phillies
Yeah.
threw a no-hitter.
Oh God, this is the
This is unbelievable.
You sent this to
Okay,
in the
so-
text.
and
this is
I-
the greatest stat ever.
Okay, so I got to read it now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
I should have had it ready. Okay.
Drum roll.
So 4 pitchers and 4 pitchers only have played in the majors after attending Fullerton Union High School in Fullerton, California. And now all 4 have thrown an MLB no-hitter. This is simply an incredible baseball fact. Most amazing ever.
Yeah. And give the
So
names
here's
of others,
the 4.
'cause-
Steve Busby, Walter Johnson, the big train.
Yeah.
So now, which is weird, because I started thinking, so Fullerton had Fullerton High School in 1907, and evidently they did. Michael Lorenzen and Mike Warren.
Okay.
So 116 years of Fullerton High School baseball. They have only 4 kids, and they've all thrown no-hitters.
That was really cool when you sent that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So anyway, so we'll get back together in a couple of weeks, and that'll be right before football season, or maybe we'll wait till after week 1. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to be around, and I know we're going to try to get out and record a podcast before a Friday night game.
You're going to try to get the Skyview Union. I've worked with Nick on that a little bit.
All 3 of us might call the Skyview Union game. That's like week 8 or 9. Right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
late.
last third of the season. Yeah.
So, but we'll figure out something. But we're going to be here, and and if it works, we'll have this interview with Rory Rosenbach, so you can hear from him on why he's moving up north. And if it doesn't work, you can go to Clark County Today and find my story on him from a few weeks back. But that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, and it's almost football season. Yes.
Go M's.
Go M's.
And go Raiders. All right, take care, everybody. Hey, Paul Valencia here. Got a special guest, Rory Rosenbach. We're going to talk a little bit about why he decided to leave Union, but he's leaving Union as a legend. State championship football coach. Rory, congratulations on your decision and all the things that are going on in your life. And here's your chance to tell us, why you're leaving Union and heading north.
Well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, it's been an awesome run. I am very grateful for the people in this community, the administrators in this community, that kind of embraced me and my family and gave us a shot and kind of trusted us and really really great time. Really hard place to leave. For me, I grew up in Snohomish. Was able to go back and kind of put some bricks in the foundation of that place at Glacier Peak when it opened, and just got a phone call that said it's going to be an opening. We'd love you to apply. Guy I have a lot of respect for. Thought about it for a while. Decided to apply. It's just an opportunity to get closer to family, get back up a lot closer to my brother and sister and my nieces and nephews. My folks are getting older. It just felt like the right move for me and my family at the time. Obviously, a really hard decision.
And your parents still live in the same house, right?
Same house I grew up in, just down the street from Glacier Peak. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you also made a great impact at Union. A lot of winning seasons, couple league titles, and then the state championship 2018. But before we get to that, what's your message to the Union community as you say your goodbyes? It's weird timing. Here we are, it's July. It's weird timing. It's no good to leave at that point. But you did meet with your team. What'd you tell your team and your coaches?
Well, as a former mentor of mine said recently, the timing is not ideal.
Yes.
And it's not ideal for anybody, right? It's not ideal for the kids. It's not ideal for the school. It's not ideal for me trying to figure out and go start a new job in about a week. But it is what it is, and we don't always get to choose the timing. It's kind of like we talk about with kids, with our kids on the field. It's like you don't get to choose when your moment's going to happen. You just have to be ready for it, so that when it does happen, that you're prepared. And I think that this group of guys is what I told the kids on Monday when I got to talk to them. And I was really grateful that almost the whole staff was there as well. And just said, you guys are prepared. You guys have been working your tail off, and the energy in this room right now, all through the spring and through the summer and at camp is fantastic. The buy-in is great. The coaches are getting after it. You guys are getting after it. Nothing needs to change, right? You're the ones that play the game. You're the ones that do the workout. We just get to go on the sidelines and enjoy it and watch it, and be a part of it. But I'm just grateful for them for trusting me and believing in me. And I'm saying that to the kids, to the administration, to the community, to the families that trust us with their kids. I just want to thank the administration guys, Cale and Brian Grimstead, the guys that kind of hired me down there and believed in me and gave me an opportunity to do it, kind of do something different than what had been done down there before, and let me run with it. And the first year wasn't a smashing success from a wins and loss standpoint, but I thought we built the foundation, and then you started to see some of the results of it. And I think that if they didn't have the trust and the patience, then we wouldn't have got to that place. So I'm grateful to that, and like they tend to say down there, is Titan Nation for life, baby, and I'll always be a Titan, and Vancouver's always going to have a pretty special place in my wife and I's heart. So thank you.
Well said. And of course, 2018 was the top moment for Union football in your time here. State championship, 14-0, including 7 come from behind victories. It was a great team to watch. It was dramatic. It was fun to watch as a reporter. Oh my gosh, these games were incredible. But your memories from 2018?
Oh man, there's so many of them, and we've talked about them at length. I think one of my biggest memories is, I don't even know if it's a memory. It's just a fact. That group had such great leadership, and obviously, Lincoln was our quarterback, and he was a tremendous leader, one of the best leaders I've ever been around in my lifetime. But there were so many guys that just bought in and believed and had a really tremendous work ethic. I literally would tell people I could not go to practice, and if I watched the film of practice, I wouldn't know if I was there or not, because those guys were so locked in. They came to work every single day. They knew how to have fun with each other, but they also knew how to work, and that's a really special trait. And I think championship teams have to have that trait, because it's a 14-week season, and it's hard to come to work every day. So those guys were amazing. Obviously, we had some pretty memorable moments and some really close games. Obviously, the California trip stands out for me. It's one of those galvanizing moments for a group where you have a ton of adversity and you have to come back and not just the game, but just getting down there with the wildfires, and then the game got postponed 3 hours, and then we came back and won on the last minute kickoff return, and then to get to go and have another day and a half with each other, kind of go into a college football game. And as we just talked about, that was Coach Rigo's last road trip. So he and I rode on the bus with the kids the whole way, and man, we talked a lot. That was a great time. And yeah, just like you said, all those comeback wins, and just kids, watching the kids grow up and believe and just have that faith in each other. By the time you get to the playoffs, you can look at them and say, these guys are going to be fine. There's nothing will phase them. There will be no moment too big, and there wasn't. So,
well, I appreciate this time, and thank you very much, Rory, and best of luck to you up north.
Appreciate you, Paul.